morning. Both President Biden and President Trump facing growing legal and political peril right now.
Some issues that they have to face. Republicans launching their impeachment inquiry into President Biden. A lot of people have called this a long shot for months now, but they're digging into corruption allegations. This is mostly centered on Hunter Biden and what President Biden may have known. Several GOP witnesses admit there is not direct evidence against the president. Meanwhile, President Trump's business empire in jeopardy with a New York civil fraud trial set to begin on Monday. This comes after a state Supreme Court judge ruled that the GOP frontrunner and other Trump Organization executives, including his sons, are liable for manipulating asset valuations. It's so interesting to me, Tom Dempsey joining us right now, how both the Republican and Democratic frontrunner for the presidential election in 2024 are facing inquiries and with their sons involved. I mean, I'm like thinking, what does this mean in the universe?
Get ready for 2024, Adrienne. I think it's going to be just crazy next year with all of these things evolving and, hearings happening and such. But, look, this morning, Republicans, specifically House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, he believes he has a strong case here against President Joe Biden. And for any of our viewers back home who might not be following every single detail tied to this investigation and hearing, it all revolves around claims that the Biden family took in millions of dollars in exchange for access to then Vice President Joe Biden. A very important part of this is that there's been no direct evidence tying President Joe Biden to any wrongdoing here. But during the hearing on Thursday, Chairman Comer cited things like text messages, emails, bank records tied to Hunter Biden that he says led to the need for this impeachment inquiry. But Democrats are calling this a political stunt. That's a big phrase you're going to hear Democrats say in regards to all this. And obviously a very big storyline right now here in D.C. and across the country, for that matter, is a possible government shutdown. Democrats are accusing Republicans of wanting to get the attention off that with this investigation. Take a listen, to what both sides said during this hearing on Thursday.
The door was wide open to those who purchased what a business associate described as the Biden brand. Evidence reveals that then Vice President Joe Biden spoke, dined, and developed relationships with his family's foreign business targets.
The committee has received 12,000 pages of bank records. Here they are, right in front of us, printed double-sided. And not a single page shows a dime going to President Joe Biden.
Another big moment of that hearing on Thursday came when one of the Republican star witnesses said that there's not enough evidence right now to lead to the impeachment of President Biden. But he did say that there is, a need for an impeachment inquiry to look into some of the evidence they have. So, again, a lot of interesting things to watch out for in that.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things unfolding for both of these men, both of these political frontrunners. So what comes next, Tom?
Well, Chairman James Comer saying that he wants to subpoena bank records belonging to Hunter Biden, President Biden, and the Biden family's business dealings. Again, he wants to gather as much evidence as he can to boost that case. Again, no direct evidence tying President Joe Biden to any wrongdoing at this point. But again, I think some of this part of this is to keep attention on it and to keep bad press coming in against President Joe Biden, at least by Republicans. So again, expect more hearings like the one we saw yesterday on Capitol Hill. Okay.
And then looking forward to next week and Monday specifically, what's this fraud case against former President Trump all about?
Yeah, another interesting thing to watch out for. The trial kicks off on Monday, and it revolves around New York State Attorney General Letitia James filing a lawsuit against former President Donald Trump, accusing him of falsifying business records and greatly overvaluing his net worth and assets to the tune of $3.6 billion. That's the New York State Attorney General's claims against former President Donald Trump, inflating his net worth. This dates back to when former President Donald Trump was a real estate mogul in New York City. An interesting part of this, though, is that earlier this week, a judge already found Mr. Trump liable for fraud connected that can't be disputed in this trial. So the trial that's starting on Monday in Manhattan, New York City, is going to be about the extent of penalties that can be lobbied against former President Donald Trump. So he, of course, denies any sort of wrongdoing. We're talking about Mr. Trump. He denies any sort of wrongdoing in this and says it's part of a harassment and intimidation, an effort against him.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.